All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Forge Your Life podcast. Here with your host, Richard Fu from richfood.com and The Ultimate Man. And today, guys, I have a real superstar on the show. I'm excited to have this guy on because we've been waiting months, right, to connect on here. And his name is Ryan Clarkin. He is a physique competitor. He's been a sponsored athlete. And nowadays, he helps people break through with their mindset on what it is that they want, whether it be in relationships, business, health, anything that you want. It all starts up here because, as Tony Robbins says, 80% of your success is not determined by your strategy, but by the psychology and what you go and tell yourself up here. And so I'm excited to have him on. He's also the host of the Limitless Mind podcast, which we'll have in the show notes later on today. But please welcome Ryan Clarkin to the show. Ryan, good to have you on, brother.
Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate you.
Man, I'm excited to have you in here, man. And so, Ryan, man, for the people who haven't heard about you or your work, could you share a bit more about, how you got started and more of how you help people?
Yeah, absolutely. So I got started when I was like 17 years old. I'm 20 right now. And I was working out. I competed in physique. I did fairly well. And something registered in my mind where I was like, wait, I'm spending all this money on competitions. Why aren't I making this back? Or why aren't I charging people to transform their bodies? And I was like, cool, I'll give it a shot. And so initially I started coaching people for free. And then I moved into paid coaching and really wasn't making very much because I wasn't charging what I was worth. Mm-hmm. And everything started to grow and grow and grow as I invested in myself. I was going to college and I decided that it wasn't for me because my business professor didn't even own his own business. He was an awesome dude, but I was like, I don't feel like I'm going in the right direction. So then I dropped out. It was one of the scariest moments of my life and hired a business coach, Jarrett Grossman from Muscle Prodigy. He really supported me in getting myself like setting powerful goals and moving forward and optimizing my mindset. Joined the School of Greatness Academy with Lewis Howes and then started investing in self-development programs and workshops and just started taking everything and growing it to a successful coaching business that I have now. And I mean, I coach pro physique competitors, entrepreneurs. I coach people on relationships, emotional intelligence, leadership, mindset, business. I don't know if I said that, fitness, whatever it is. Like I feel like I coach people on everything and I really am a coach at my core. So that's what I do. That's what I'm up to. And it's incredible.
Oh man, I love that story. And let's rewind it here, Ryan,
Sure.
for a bit, right? Like you're saying that you had to make that decision to leave college and drop out and then actually go do your own business, and it was one of the scariest moments for you, right? So talk us through that, man. Like what's going on through your mind? How did your family take it? How did you just talk us through that whole situation, man?
Yeah, that's exciting to go back there. So I started a mastermind. And this is crucial. I was reading Napoleon Hill and I saw, mastermind principles. So I started a mastermind. I reached out to like the most successful people who I could find online. That mastermind consisted of like Thomas, James from Red Frost Motivation on YouTube, my buddy Tanuka, who was like rocking it at 18, making more money than anyone I knew, and with affiliate marketing, my buddy Ryan, and a few other people were in there. And so then I remember saying that I'm going to go to school, but I don't see myself finishing. I'll just feel it out. And so I start going, and I remember my breaking point was calculus. Like I was working on the calculus and I just was like, this doesn't feel in alignment with my purpose. I know that I'm here on this planet to change lives. And how is me putting hours into study for this and like getting a good grade on this, how is this going to change any lives? It doesn't make any sense. So then I was sitting on my computer. I pulled up all of the screens, and this was actually a dream. I had a dream in my mind, and I was like, how cool would it be? It would almost be movie-like if I were to drop out of school and hire a business coach. Now, looking back, it sounds silly. Like it's not that big of a deal to hire a business coach. But back then, since I was raised in a family where it was like, okay, you go to college, like that's the standard, and you get a good job, it was totally outside of my reality. So I remember this video popped up. I had YouTube on my other monitor, and it was an Elliot Hulse video. And it was the weirdest thing. He told me exactly what I need to do. It was like one of the most magical experiences of my life. Like one of those synchronistic moments where it's like, okay, the universe is telling me to do this. I'm just going to go for it. Feels crazy, sounds crazy, but truly, I was listening to Tony Robbins' advice, and I also heard RSD Tyler say this on one of his videos. Who's big into self-development, and it's the burn the boats principle. So I was like, screw it, I'm going to burn the boats. Like, this is just going to motivate me. And I knew that I couldn't tell my parents. And so I dropped out. I felt so free. Immediately I went to the library, didn't tell anyone. And actually went through the rest of that semester at the library during the hours I should be at school. I was working on my business, and I didn't tell my parents until after I started bringing in money. I felt really bad because I'm the type of person who I'm like hardcore on integrity. And but then I told them, and my mom was like, thank you for not telling me that, because I would have freaked out. But I trusted myself enough to know that I would be able to deliver. I'd be able to bring money into my business. And then I did. And then I told them, and they were like, okay, thanks. But it's easily the number one best decision that I've ever made in my life.
I love it, man. It's like you just jumped in, and this one's magic here, man, is that you kind of like jumped in without really even having, like, your business wasn't running then, right?
No.
Have anything up. And so
not really.
So
just an idea.
Yeah, so just an idea. And then that's what I want to talk about here, man, is like, not many people want to do that, right? Well, actually, some people do. There's two extremes I see, right? There's ones that are like me, who is risk adverse, and like, we create a side hustle, then we're going to work at it. And then there's other people like, you know what? I'm sick of it, Richard. Bang, cut the cord and go for it, right? And talk us through that first venture, man. I mean, is that first venture still what you're doing now, or how has that evolved into what it is today?
Yeah. So actually, I had this website with Tom from Red Frost, and it was Yantra, and we were gonna like monetize that, create a huge mastermind, and it kind of like fell apart. It just split up. But what I kept at my core doing was fitness coaching. And what dropping out of school gave me was the freedom to travel. So after I dropped out, I actually went to Los Angeles with my buddy Nav, and he has a pretty big YouTube channel. You might be familiar with it. It's a motivational YouTube channel. It's Absolute Motivation. And we were going out there to film some projects with some people. And I met this guy, Eli, and he taught me sales. And immediately, like, I was surrounded with all these successful people. And it was like I went from university or college, where I was like surrounded with all these people who were like, didn't have these big dreams. And I remember thinking, like, I just don't feel like I belong in this space. Like, when I was there, it didn't feel right. And I'm not saying that from a perspective of like an arrogant frame of like, I'm better than them, because I feel like we all inherently are human, and we're all at an equal level. But I just didn't feel like that was the place for me to be. So then when I was in LA and around all those people, it was almost like I met so many amazing people, got so many great ideas, and everything just started to blow up from there, and it slowly grew.
Right, gotcha. And so talk us through those early days, right, where you went from, you were doing physique training, and then you started coaching people, and then now you've expanded from just purely fitness coaching into more mindset coaching, right? Because that for most people, they probably think that's the same, but it's actually a pivot, right? You have to pivot and make that shift. How did you make that shift, and when did you realize it's the right time to make that shift?
Yeah, so it's organic. It kind of like slowly just happened. It's like, I feel like it's just my progression. It wasn't at one point where I was like, I'm just going to 100% shift to mindset coaching. I kind of combine both of them. Because in reality, it all starts in the mind. Like, say, for example, someone can't be consistent in the gym. That's not a problem with them not having the right workout plan or the right nutrition plan. It's a problem with their mindset. It's a block. And let's say they can't be consistent, and maybe that's because they've associated so much pain with going to the gym, or they're embarrassed to go to the gym. That's a fear of judgment challenge, which is a mindset challenge. Or maybe they just aren't in a state where they're fed up enough with their current state that they're not motivated to change. So tying all these mindset principles into the aspect of physical transformation is so useful for anybody who wants to have a fitness transformation. So to be honest, like I'm not purely doing mindset coaching, but at the same time, it does all start with the mind. So mindset coaching is when I'm coaching someone on their relationships or when I'm coaching them on their fitness. Like it all ties together into a bigger picture.
Yeah, yeah. Gotcha, man. Gotcha. And you said something that's interesting here, Ryan. And I pull this out, right? Because, we always have this debate with me, my coaches, and anyone who's interested in personal development is, you said that sometimes some people haven't associated enough pain to where they're at, right? So then they don't go and take the right actions. Talk us through a moment here, right? Maybe with yourself, maybe with your own clients here. I'd like to understand, like, has there been a point where, a client's like, Ryan, I really want this, but I don't know why I'm stopping myself. And you've realized that it's because they haven't gone through enough pain. Like in your eyes, how much, I guess the question that pops into my head is like, how much pain do you think, someone has to go through, right? So that they actually start to take action, right? And where does a coach come in to actually help them associate that pain so that they actually take action, man?
I love that. That's a great question. And what pops in my mind, and the role of a coach is to kind of take the blinders off and to show, like, for example, if I were coaching you, I would show you your blind spots. And the question comes up of what are you pretending not to know? And it's like, what is the client pretending not to know? Are they pretending not to know that their poor eating habits are 10 years from now potentially going to affect their heart and that they won't be able to see their kids graduate because they'll have a heart attack? Like that's a lot of pain, Yeah. So I feel like a lot of people aren't connected and clear on the potential consequences that their actions can be creating right now. And so from a coaching perspective, I shed the light on that. For example, I had a client the other day who he wasn't prioritizing his sleep. And it was this pattern that he felt like he couldn't change. And I never buy that story. Of course, anyone can change. And so what we did was we walked through the prices he's paying for this, the potential health problems that could happen. And I always think about what's most important to these clients? What's most important to this person? So, for example, what might be really important to you is your business. What was important to him was his family and his kids. And so if we lose something that is most important to us, that creates a massive amount of pain. And it's worth going there to show him, say, you know what, if you don't prioritize your sleep and you have a health problem down the road, how could that affect your family? How could that affect your kids? Like, what would it be like if your kids were to walk in the room and you were to be on the ground because you didn't take the time and you didn't prioritize your health today? That's a very real possibility because heart attack can be a result of extreme sleep deprivation, and that's what he was going through. So it's like when we deprive ourselves of something, when we're not on track in our fitness, when we're not on track in whatever, it's like, how is that affecting everything in our life? And if we can look at the prices that we pay and get really, really down and to look at what we don't want to see, that's when we create enough pain to change.
Dude, I love that, man, right? And this is why it's such magic here. When you pulled it out and you said a coach's role is to light up that darkness. Your role is to help them realize the questions or the answers that they don't want to look at, right? What is it that you don't want to know? Because that's what stops us most of the time, is that we actually all know the answer. And I say this as well, man, is that, there's only two reasons why people really need a coach. One, they don't want to face the question, right? That they know they need to ask themselves, or they're afraid of the answer, right?
Right.
And so I love that, man. I love that you pull that out because it's so important here for people who are listening on the show or watching this, that, this is why you get a coach. It's not just so that we can keep our heads stuck in the sand like an ostrich, right? It's to pull ourselves out and actually have a look at it. And then what do you tell your clients, man, when they see and they recognize and they face that answer or finally look at the question, they realize that it's not what they want, right? And it's, what do you tell them, man?
Well, so I'm very big in like being aware of self-fulfilling prophecies. So in that specific coaching situation,
Mm-hmm.
I brought him to that point, and then I shared with him, well, that's not how you're going to end up, obviously, because you're making a change today, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he said, yes. And I said, so what future awaits you? What is awaiting you when you make these changes? What's your body going to be like? How much faster do you see yourself making progress? What's your relationships going to be like? What's your, for example, I talked to him about how like, getting more sleep affects your sex drive. Like how's your relationship going to change? Is it going to be more passionate, exciting? Like, how are you going to feel? What about the amount of energy that you're going to have with your kids and all of the pleasure that's on the other side of changing that habit? And I mean, by the end of the call, they're like, I didn't know why I didn't think about this. Like, I'm obviously making a change today. There's no other option.
Mm-hmm. Oh, love it, man. Love it. And Ryan, man, a question comes into my mind, right? So I'm sitting here, and maybe some people here listening on the show have this in their minds as well. It's like, so you're 20, you just been in this industry for a little bit, right? Like 3 years, right? And I love to ask this question, man, especially as a coach yourself, man, because, I'm quite young as well with you, man, and we face this every day, right? It's like, how do you deal with it? When people come up to you, it's like, Ryan, you're a mindset coach. How's that possible? You're only 20, right? What would you know, right?
Yeah.
And for those people that are asking this question who are on the other side of this podcast, man, what would you say to them, man? What would you say to them?
Yeah, I mean, I've had it happen before, and I'd say, cool, just another day. When I was coaching this seminar in Columbus, I actually, on one of the coaching calls that I had with a student, they were like, well, you're 20 and like, how do you expect to give me coaching on my life if you barely had any life experience? Mm-hmm. And I said, you know what? Part of this is becoming emotionally intelligent. Mm-hmm. And so you're judging me right now. And I want to ask you the question of, number one, how much do you judge yourself? And how are your relationships paying for the judgment that you have in your life? And so it's kind of, turning it around, because I believe in pointing the finger at yourself. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so it's so easy to point your finger at other people and say, this is wrong with them. They're not credible. That's not good enough. But what if you took the time to point the finger at yourself? Mm-hmm. And to really look at yourself and reflect? Mm-hmm. How much would your life change? But really what it gets down to is, don't look at the person, look at their results. Yep. And I've worked with hundreds of people. If anyone talks to any of my clients, they're going to get nothing but like enthusiastic, exciting feedback. And it's really, I don't care if someone asks me that question, because I know who I am. And, my age doesn't define what I am capable of. It doesn't define that. Other people can say that, but that's part of their belief system. And point the finger at yourself, buddy.
Love it, man. And it's true, man. It's age is just a number. And I like the one where you're talking about pointing the finger at yourself, right? Because as another guest that we had on the show, Dan Priestley from Key Person Influence, he was saying, when you see someone points their finger at you, right, there's actually like 3 other fingers pointing back at them.
Yeah.
And so that's where the real responsibility lays. And I love that you point that out. Is to also, it's a great question to ask is, if you're judging other people, how much, do you judge on yourself? And on top of that, how do you judge yourself, right? Most people, when they judge themselves, wouldn't it be correct, Ryan, that they don't look at themselves in the highest light, right? Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, people who are constantly picking themselves apart, they're finding the walls that are in their way. And now that's good to look at in a specific reason. But if you judge yourself to the point where you're saying, I'm not good enough, or you're finding every reason why you can't do something, or you're comparing yourself to other people, what it really gets down to is that self-judgment is the number one wall that is stopping most people from accessing self-love and self-acceptance. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's one of the biggest keys to happiness. Mm-hmm. And now we're kind of turning and going into a different topic, but it all really ties together. And someone who it's important to question credibility, but someone who is outwardly judging others is they most likely don't love themselves. They most likely don't accept who they really are. And I feel like that's truly important. It's like, What if as much time as you spent casting judgments on other people, like, for example, saying that person's ugly or that person's poor or that person's this way or this person's that way, what if as much energy as we put out on judging other people, we put into loving and accepting ourselves and looking at the gifts that we had? How much would our life change if we did that? We'd feel amazing.
Yeah.
So that's my invitation to anyone who's into that kind of stuff.
I love that, man. And it's all about how is it, because most people think about, I guess, looking at the externals, right, to make themselves happy, to make themselves feel good. But what if you brought the party with yourself everywhere, right? What if you are the party everywhere you go? What if you went anywhere and someone asks you, is it going to be fun? You say, yeah, it's going to be fun because I'm there, right? I'm going to make it fun for me, right?
Yeah.
Oh, man, I love that, man. I love that.
Ultimate self-worth.
Exactly. And if it isn't, then, hey, there's some part of you that didn't make it fun or weren't open to the fun, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, man. It's been awesome chatting with you here, brother. Right. And so now we're going to go into the quick-fire questions round, man.
Let's do it.
Yeah, man. And we're going to start off with our favorite question. This is our signature question here, man, on the show. It's what we call a time travel moment, right? So, if you could go back to any time in your life, right, and you can talk to little Ryan, you can give him one piece of advice that from today, man. When would you go back to, and what would you tell him?
Yeah. So it's a super good question. And I'm thinking about, like, would I give myself advice for success or anything like that? And I don't think I would. What I would say is to think twice about what you say to other people. Because when I was younger, I was kind of a dick. Like I was kind of a bully in a sense, not in a big way, but I hurt some people with my words. And now that I'm conscious of that, and that I the only thing that I like send to people is a verbal expression of love. And I know just how much that judgment and nasty remarks and that emotional poison can affect people and hold them back for the rest of their life. I would say only express love to people, and don't bring anyone down. Like, lift them up, hold them high, no matter who they are. Even if you don't like them, like send them love, because they need it. Like, everybody needs it. That's what I would tell myself.
Man, that's really powerful, man, because school is not an easy place to grow up in either, right?
Yeah.
Get caught into the flow of what everyone else is doing because we think that's the right thing. So I think that's beautiful, man. I love that, man. I love that.
Thanks.
The next question I have for you, Ryan, obviously you studied a lot, obviously you read a lot, right? But if there's one book that was a total must read for everyone who's listening and watching here, what would that be?
Yeah, so I have kind of a bias because this book is really magical to me. It came into my life at the perfect time. Mm-hmm. Do you mind if I tell a story behind it super quick?
Of course, man. Of course. Go for it.
So my mom was like super connected to her uncle Sonny, and it was her favorite uncle, and he was a successful salesman, super successful, always happy. And he actually had died a year before I was born, and I ended up being born on his birthday. Mm-hmm. And so my mom always felt like super connected to him spiritually, and she says it's really weird because I'm just like him, and I always felt a weird connection to him, although he's passed away. And so I was getting at this pivotal moment of my life where I was like, I need something in my life that's going to be a catalyst for me. And I remember thinking about that and asking for it. And what ended up happening was, after my grandpa passed away, we were cleaning out his house, and I found the original version of Think and Grow Rich there, like I believe it's from the 1930s, like the OG original version, one of the original copies. And so I got it because we were, cleaning out the house, and I was reading it, and I looked in the book, and it said Tom Kelly in it. So I walk in my mom's room at the time, and I asked her who Tom Kelly is. And she goes, "Oh, that's your Uncle Sonny." And so the way that it felt to me was like, I needed this at the perfect time. And this guy, my mom's uncle, who I felt so connected to my entire life because she said I was so similar to, has like sent me this gift, or like it's appeared. Maybe it's just a coincidence. I'm making a story up, but it was really magical. And, So that's like super important to me. And I applied the mastermind principle. And that was one of the biggest things that changed my life, is connecting with super influential, successful people who not only want for success for themselves, but for you as well.
Mm-hmm.
And just the principles from that book are timeless. So
Yeah.
I would have to say Think and Grow Rich. And if you've gotten that one before on the show, then I'll give you another one.
Oh man, I love that, man. And I think we'll add that to the show notes, man. Who hasn't not read that book before, right, man?
Right. Read it again if you haven't, if you've
Yes.
already read it.
Yes, exactly, man. Awesome, dude. So next question I have for you, Ryan, and this interests me because of your perspective, because you're growing up so young, and I really want to know what it's like here for the millennials or even younger millennials here. Is this, Ryan? So in our business, the Ultimate Man, our aim is to help bridge the gap, right, for men with what the modern world needs. Because I believe this, man, and I'm sure you agree with me, is that the modern world's up here. Women are up here because of the whole feminist movement. They've developed themselves. But I feel like men are down here, right? And there's a huge gap between where men need to be at and where they're at right now. And so, if there's one thing that's missing, right? If the world needs one thing from more men, right? What would that one thing be, man, for us to bridge this gap?
Man, self-love came to mind first, but I think it really gets down to the ability to trust yourself. I feel like so many men have self-doubts. They doubt their power. They doubt their abilities. They doubt their worthiness of getting whatever they want in their life, whether it's like building a successful business or creating an incredible relationship or even getting better with women in general. I feel like there's so much self-doubt there that what I see men needing is trusting themselves enough to make it happen and to take the action, because the only way that you can learn is by taking the action. I feel like so many people stop at that initial fear of self-doubt. And if the men of the world truly trusted themselves, then they would be able to get past that and progress much faster in their life.
Oh, man, said like a true warrior right there, man. It's just boom. I love it, man. I love it, man. And you're doing great, man. Just last two questions here, Ryan. Right. The next question I have for you is, so we talk a lot about mindset, right? We talk a lot about psychology side of things. And what is it to have like the most ultimate mindset? What would the ultimate mindset look like for you, man?
The ultimate mindset?
Yeah.
Taking full responsibility and standing as source for creating your life. It's the ultimate mindset, because it's simply a paradigm shift. And it's a shift from standing at the cause of everything to standing at the effect. Or, some people might call it victim versus responsibility. The shift from being a victim of everything that happens to us and shifting into being responsible as the creator of our own life and the creator of the reactions of the things that happen to us. Because some people might say, well, Ryan, you can't create everything that happens to us. Like, what if you get some weird disease, or what if you get hit by a car? Well, you can be the creator of the reactions and the meaning that you put behind every single event in your life. So I would stay standing at the cause and not the effect, and bringing that into your mindset, knowing that you are the creator of your reality and knowing that you have the ability to write your own story in life. So grab the pen and write it.
I love it, man. And to add more to that, man, it sounds like, so say, for example, you were hit by a car, right? Obviously you did not have control of the car. But what you're talking about here is the reaction is like, most people would say, oh, why did I get hit? Right?
Yeah.
But you could actually talk us through that, man.
Yeah. So for example, like let's say someone gets hit by a car, right? They put all the blame on that person who hit them. Maybe they lose a leg. They put all the blame on that person. They hate them. They ruined my life. Why did this have to happen to me? And that's someone who's standing at the effect. And that's not a way to live life. Like, you're going to feel like they took their life away from you. Now, if you're standing at the cause and you're being responsible, if you get hit by the car, you can say, okay, number one, I didn't look to see if that car was coming. So that's a great learning experience. Now my leg's missing. So what does this mean? Okay, this happened to me. What does this mean? Now, someone who's standing at the effect can say, this means that I'm crippled for the rest of my life.
Mhm.
That this means that no woman's ever going to be attracted to me. Who's going to be attracted to someone with one leg?
Mhm.
That's someone who is living at the effect or being a victim. Now, someone who's standing in responsibility or at the cause can say, wait, how can I leverage this to get more out of life? Someone at the cause says, I could have died and I'm blessed to live. What am I going to make of my life now? They're going to use it as an opportunity to reflect, like, what if that was actually the last moment of my life?
Mhm.
What would I have wished that I would have done? And would I have left this earth in that moment from a place of regret or from a place of fulfillment? Would I have wished I had done more? If I wish I would have done more, what do I wish I would have done? And how can I create a change in my life from this point forward? So they're going to use it as an opportunity to grow, to learn, to give more, to contribute, and to gain a higher level of fulfillment out of their life. They're going to take something away from the experience,
Mhm.
not
Wow.
allow the experience to take away from them.
No, there we go, man. That is beautiful, brother. I love that. I love that. And one final question here, man, as we wrap up the show here is, Ryan, if you had 30 seconds left to live, you're surrounded by, your beautiful girlfriend, wife, your family, your friends, the amazing people in your mastermind, your coaches, and the people you've made an impact to. What's the one piece of advice you'd leave with them?
I would say that the same moment is coming for every single one of you, and that it's time to live. There's not time to simply survive. We have everything we need to live and to thrive. So make the most out of every single second and know that this moment isn't just a moment. It's not my moment. This is a moment to come for all of us. And to use death as a motivator and think from a perspective of, as my last breath leaves my body, am I going to leave this world from a place of fulfillment or regret, like I said earlier? And instead of thinking from this place forward, think about how you want to reflect on your life from that last moment, and then reverse engineer your life based on that experience.
Beautiful, man. I love it, man. Thank you, Ryan Clarkin, so much for jumping on the show, brother. For people who want to get in touch with you, who want to learn more about your work, where's the best place they should go to?
Yeah, add me on Facebook, Ryan Clarkin. I also have Periscope. I broadcast regularly, Ryan Clarkin. You can find me anywhere with that name. My website's ryanclarkin.com, so it's super easy to find me.
Awesome, brother, man. Is there anything else you want to add, Ryan, before we wrap up the show that we didn't get a chance to talk about here?
Well, I just want to acknowledge and appreciate you, Richard, for this opportunity to share my truth, and acknowledge you for standing for the lives of other people and really living in a place of possibility for them and guiding men all over the world.
Oh, man. Thank you, man. Thank you. And you're so awesome, brother. Man, I cannot wait to jump onto your podcast show over there,
Yeah.
Limitless Mind podcast, and I'm pumped for that, man. So, bro, thank you once again, man, for jumping on and sharing your wisdom here, man.
Absolutely, brother. Thank you.
Awesome. And guys, this wraps up another episode of the Forge Your Life podcast here today with Ryan Clarkin, the man to be, right? And the man that we all should be striving to be. He's an amazing example. And I know this one thing. I know Ryan here doesn't want this to be a secret anymore. This should not be a secret, guys. This episode does not need to be kept just for you. Make sure we share this out. Make sure you go to iTunes and rate the show so that we can actually spread his message and everyone else's message on the show here, because that's what we need to do. And of course, guys, remember to go out there, go live with love, and go smash it. And I'll see you again on the next one.